Welcome back to NBCLX. I'm Jo Beth DeVera. This week, Massachusetts voted to ban the use of facial recognition by law enforcement and public agencies, except in a few circumstances. As part of a broader attempt at police reform, Senate Bill 2963 has been under negotiation between the State House and Senate since July. Lawmakers introduced the bill after the George Floyd killing in May as an attempt to help regulate unfair policing and hold officers accountable. But facial recognition tech has also become part of a bigger conversation about systemic bias. So let's head back into our virtual world here at NBCLX to dive into this a bit more.
Access granted. You are now entering the NBCLX virtual world.
All right, so facial recognition has become a controversial topic in the tech world because it lacks federal guidelines that would regulate how it is being used. In an hour-long interview on YouTube, the CEO of Clearview AI talked about having contracts with more than 2,400 police agencies. Now, without federal guidelines, companies like Clearview AI are able to provide their services without any oversight or records on how the tech is used or even any accountability if it's inaccurate. But there's another more complex issue at play here. Researchers have been saying that for years, modern facial recognition, even when using artificial intelligence, can be flawed, and systems have been shown to have issues properly identifying people with darker skin tones, and that data can have racial bias built in. Now, Massachusetts joins cities like Portland, Maine and Portland, Oregon, San Francisco and Oakland that have all banned police use of facial recognition. Boston was the first city in the state to ban the tech. A New York Times investigation from January details how Clearview AI collects information from social media sites like Facebook and YouTube to build databases. Over in Chicago, a lawsuit was filed against the company over the summer, claiming that Clearview AI unlawfully used face scans without consent. Lawsuits have also been filed in New York and Vermont, and state attorneys general in Vermont and New Jersey have ordered Clearview to stop collecting photos. And while police departments across the U.S. are drawn to using digital tech for surveillance, human rights experts warned against them just last week. The UN Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination admitted that AI can contribute to police effectiveness, but the facial recognition and other tech can also contribute to racism and human rights violations. The committee told the New York Times that these technologies can draw on biased information like arrest data that can reflect bias in policing practices. In turn, the risk increases over policing and neighborhood arrests, continuing a cycle of inequality that could actually be counterproductive because communities exposed to discriminatory law enforcement lose trust in the police and they become less cooperative. The committee's recommendations are based on 2 years of data, and they're aimed at a global audience. But most of the complaints it has received over the past 2 years came from right here in the U.S. So while global advocates are cautioning against surveillance, one small town police department over in Mississippi is actually asking for more access. NBCLX storyteller Clark Foraker is jumping in now to explain further. And Clark, what can you tell us?
Yeah, hey Jo Beth. So police in Jackson, Mississippi might be in your feeds today because they have expanded the way that they're doing police surveillance in their city. They're allowing residents and business owners to send security camera feeds directly to a new real-time command center that includes people's personal home doorbell cameras. Now, of course, people do have to agree to this transmission, but if you agree to it, your doorbell camera could be viewed by police at any time, and they don't have to tell you if you've signed that agreement when they're looking at your feed. The idea, of course, is getting the attention of lots of small cities around America who are cash-strapped and trying to figure out how to expand their surveillance and law enforcement capability. So the live streaming technology is undergoing a legal review in Jackson now, in addition to lots of scrutiny from news media, some residents, and some city council leaders there. It's one of 24 places in the country where police agencies have signed contracts with a company called Fusus. They're in Georgia, and they basically make it easier for law enforcement agencies to build networks out of both public and private cameras. Here's how it works. Fusus connects any of the camera's owners to either buy, or Fusus provides a device that converts the video into a format that can be then fed to the police department or to a surveillance hub of some kind. This is the hub in Jackson, Mississippi. Police say it gives them the ability to pull up cameras within a certain radius, allowing them to respond to crime in real time with less hardware, and importantly, hardware in some cases the city did not have to pay for. Right now, this program is approved for a 45-day pilot trial. Now, Fusus, the company providing the technology that allows the feed to be sent to the police department, says they're not trying to impose on anyone's civil liberties. Of course, users get to decide how much video, if their video is transferred to police, and the police cannot access a camera unless they have the owner's permission. The Jackson pilot program, as you might imagine, has brought some renewed scrutiny, as I mentioned, from residents in Jackson, privacy advocates. There's even a city council member who disagrees with the program. A while back, I actually looked into how police departments are interacting with one company in particular. Ring, which is owned by Amazon, is one of the leading providers of home doorbell video cameras in the country. And we learned that some of the contracts between the company and the police departments were actually written so that there could be data shared.
There are hundreds of thousands of Ring cameras around the country connected to police departments. But did you know the tech company went to many of those departments asking for a direct pipeline to information about 911 calls? And in some cases, they got it. Have you ever wondered, are police helping big tech get data about you? This story's about how some police departments are routing your information to one company, inadvertently helping them build one of the largest private camera networks in the U.S.
We're always looking for that next step to be faster, to be the quicker we can get somebody off the street, the less victims we're going to have in the city of Tampa. So we viewed that as a crime-fighting tool that we were able to use, and we use it today to help solve crimes in those neighborhoods.
In 2018, Ring, the video doorbell company owned by Amazon, had an enticing offer for the Tampa Police Department: access to hundreds of Ring doorbell cameras around the city. Cops could use Ring's law enforcement portal, which let them see general camera locations, and then contact the camera's owner to see if it captured video relevant to solving a crime. In return, Ring wanted access to something called CAD data. CAD stands for Computer-Aided Dispatch. It's basically an internal running list of 911 calls that come into a department, and includes information like where the officer is going and why they're going there.
We share our data with a company called StreetSmart.
And you've authorized StreetSmart to then give some of that data to Ring.
Correct. Privacy concerns are a big concern for us. So we don't want, what we wanted to ensure was with StreetSmart that no personal information is getting transferred over to Ring. Right? No street addresses, direct addresses, no personal information, nothing that's going to violate NCIC, FCIC rules that would allow them. So if there's a burglary call that gets sent to Ring, it's not going to give them the address of where that burglary happened. It's going to give them a 100 block of where that happens.
Even if some things are redacted, police have given Ring enough information that the company can target your cell phone for an alert. There's a police call in your neighborhood. Across the country, Ring presented this document to departments, saying after they get CAD data, their team reformats and sends alerts to neighborhoods. They asked for direct addresses and said information had to be timely. They told Miami-Dade officers that was so citizens could make timely decisions about their safety.
Part of the reason why Ring would benefit from your phone vibrating every time there's a 911 call in your neighborhood is to make you terrified. I think the more scared you are in your neighborhood, the more scared you are in your home, the more cameras you're going to put up around the house, and every camera equals $ for Amazon.
Here's what's happening. Police are basically trading your data to get something they want: access to Ring's massive network of cameras around the city. If you think big picture, Ring, and therefore Amazon, doesn't just have data from one department. They have data from every city that's agreed to partner. Combine that with all the Ring videos stored on their servers, it's a big network. The question now, how does Amazon plan to use it? Ring says, in an effort to provide relevant and reliable crime and safety information to our neighbors, one important source we rely on is CAD. We use this publicly available data to create news alerts as supplemental posts and to inform weekly crime and safety reports. In addition to Tampa, Ring wanted data from hundreds of other police departments around the country. We obtained emails and contracts from 27 different cities through public records requests. They show that along with Tampa, initially the city of Miami agreed. The city now says they no longer provide CAD data to Ring. In other cities' partnership contracts, Ring asked to include language that would allow sharing in the future, telling one city they leave contract language intentionally vague to allow for easy compliance. Some cities required it be taken out, others left it in. In Dallas, the contract says Ring will work with DPD to obtain data call logs and publish the relevant incidents in the app based on terms agreed to with DPD.
We do not provide Ring anything that we do not provide any normal citizen.
Dallas PD provides normal citizens with this website, a calls for service log. It has less information than CAD, but shows citizens where cops are at and what they're working. Ring is lifting that data and then using it to create crime alerts that are sent to users through Ring's Neighbors app.
What do you make of all the privacy criticism that's attributed to Ring?
I understand it because everybody wants, their privacy. However, with technology these days, like I said, if you're outside your house, you're being filmed. Your privacy, whatever you're doing, someone's watching it.
To be fair, departments only publish or share data public records laws and privacy statutes allow them to. While police cannot access all your Ring videos, Ring, the company itself, can. And think about this. Because Ring is a private company, they don't have to follow the same rules police do about how this massive conglomeration of data is used and maintained. Ring says CAD information's in no way connected or attached to Ring videos or other posts and content shared on the Neighbors app.
I think when somebody buys a Ring camera and puts it on their porch, they are thinking about their safety, the safety of their home, the safety of their packages. And they're failing to think about these cameras as being part of a large connected network.
Public surveillance cameras have been around, but a network of private home security cameras is something new. A new survey from Pew Research Center says 79% of Americans are concerned about how much data is being collected about them by companies. Fewer Americans, only 64%, were concerned about collection at government agencies. In the study, less than 10% of people say they actually understand how that data is being used. Overall, about 8 in 10 Americans say the potential risks outweigh the benefits when it comes to companies collecting data on them. Ring has changed security settings, sending less of its data to other big tech companies. What it hasn't slowed down is what it will take from local police departments. Digital privacy advocates say that big combined data set and the vague understanding of how it's used is why they're concerned about Ring.
I think this is one of the kind of major civil liberties challenges of our time right now is the rise of these third-party private companies that police are exporting more and more of the work of surveillance and police work into. And so unlike a police department where you can file a public records request, you can find out sometimes what's happening inside, so much of the technological work of policing is going behind these black boxes of private companies because you can't, send a public records request to Amazon. You can't find out what's happening inside Ring very easily.